Welcome to the cast. We got a little different setup tonight. We are going to talk about dating, so we had to bring some youth into the program because the rest of us. Oh, Emily, you're fresh off the playing field.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just
fresh off.
Look, she's technically not off yet. I mean, we're working towards
I got 30 days.
I think
until there's a ring on it.
You got a ring, right?
Yeah, this is a down payment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not paid in full yet.
Yeah.
Not paid in full.
Okay.
Got to get the other half.
Got to get the other half.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. But we have Grayce Stubbs with us tonight.
Hi.
She's representing the still dating crowd. The rest of us are married or engaged. And then we got Pastor Chris you're in the peanut gallery today.
Peanut.
The Hiles weren't able to join us. So today, let's talk about dating. We're going to jump right into our subject. And we're going to start with a question. Should Christians date differently than the world? So let's kick that around. Emily, what do you think?
I mean, I feel like the obvious answer is yes.
Yes.
Yes. I personally think that there needs to be intention behind it.
There needs to be an end game?
Yeah. I mean, are you wasting your time just out there having fun, or are you having a purpose? Are you following, trying to find the end result of God's will? What is God's will for your life? To find somebody to share your life with, or are you just kind of piddling with your own time? So I think there needs to be some intention behind that dating. If you consider yourself a Christian, yes.
Okay, how many dates does it take to figure that out?
I think the first one will tell you real quick if that's
the first one. You can tell a lot in the first date.
Oh yeah, I mean that's my personal experience. It's like, okay, do you love Jesus? No, you don't love Jesus. See ya. Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah.
Down the road.
I mean, why are you there? In my opinion, why are you there? And I know a lot of people have a lot of different thoughts on that. But for me, I'm looking for my future, trying to figure out my life. And is this person going to be a benefit or a problem? Mm-hmm. And is this going to harm my walk with the Lord, or is this going to benefit my walk with the Lord? So that's my take on that.
So the answer is yes, we should date differently than the world.
100%.
Okay. Grayce?
Yeah. I would probably say yes is my answer as well. Not any disagreements, but just additions do you obviously the way you go about dating and your relationship in general as a Christian is different than how the world is going to go about it. And so I think the thing that I agreed the most with is that in general, at the very least, your intentions behind who you're choosing, why you're staying with them should be different. Because some people just choose someone because they want to sleep with them. Mm-hmm. Obviously, right. If you're a Christian, that should not be your intention.
Right.
So your intentions should be different. Even if the actual going on a date, some of the things are the same. Intentionality is going to be different.
So what does a Christian date look like?
I think what I was saying is that is the part that probably isn't going to look any different unless I don't know, depends on you or your beliefs, but you're probably not going to a club or something.
Not going to the bar.
Probably not going to the bar or the club. That is probably different, but other than that, I don't think there is that many differences. You can still you're still going on a dinner date, going to the movies, whatever.
You think you're agreeing? You're shaking your head.
I do agree. I mean, if you're going to a bar to get sloshed, I don't think that is. It's not using wisdom. Mm-hmm. That's my opinion. So like Grayce said, majority of the dates are probably going to look the exact same: dinner date, movies, whatever it may be. So I feel like you would know that person's intentions as well if they're the ones to plan it. I mean, most time guys probably plan it, mm-hmm. and so you're going to know their intentions pretty quickly or not. And that's kind of going to set the standard.
Are guys still opening the doors for? I mean, they open your car door, open the door to the restaurant.
I feel like it depends.
You hope so?
Depends on the person.
Yeah, depends on the
Red
person.
flag if they don't?
No,
No?
because some people weren't taught how that they should do that, so it's not like a malicious choice to. You can open your own door.
Yeah.
I think it depends on. There's some girls today that do not want that because they
very
want. Yeah, they're not looking for the like. This is a blue thing. This is a pink thing. They're like, hey, aren't we all kind of the same? So I think it just depends.
I think it also depends how you met them. Like if you have not known them in any other setting, then I feel like out of everything I've experienced or other friends of mine have, anybody who they didn't know before they went on a date with, they were way more like gentlemanly, you could say. But if they were like friends with them before and they had been with them several times, then it looks a little bit different because like, you know, when you're friends with a guy for like a couple of years before you start dating them, you've been getting in and out of cars and going to restaurants and doing all of that for a long time before you're actually dating. So it also depends how you meet each other.
I'm going to go ahead and shoot that all down as your dad. that man better roll it out for you. He better have all the stuffs for you. So I realize
I personally
I'm biased,
don't
but-
really care if somebody opens my door or not.
Let's pause for a second and just acknowledge your bravery to come do this with your parents.
Yeah.
It's true. It's
you
true.
get high points for that.
Oh, thank
so
you,
who's
thank you.
so who's paying? Is this different? Like, does the
Oh.
guy have to pay? Is it
In my mind, yes.
okay, Grace?
I think that it's good. I think it's like fine. It makes me really uncomfortable. So I like internally don't actually like it if someone pays for me because it makes me really uncomfortable. And so it like doesn't really bother me if they don't pay. But also I like have never really known a guy, Christian or not, who like likes that about me. They're like, you should let the guy pay, and I'm like, okay. Okay.
So do you find it demeaning?
No, I don't think it's demeaning. I just think that it just is way more stress to me. Like I don't like imposing upon people, and so I like I would be having a way better time if I didn't have to think about like some people will just go and they're like, I'll get whatever I want. I know I'm not paying. I would be like, I'll eat a
So
bread.
you're ordering differently.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a deep thought.
I order differently when my parents are paying versus when I'm paying for myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
for sure.
Amy, what do you think?
Yeah,
Who pays?
I'm an old school girl. So, I mean, I'll be honest though, because when Chris and I were dating, there were times that I had money and he didn't have money, and vice versa. So it didn't always go that way, but the intention was always when we, in the beginning, he was planning a lot of the dates. And so he didn't plan something he couldn't afford. But after we had been dating for a while and I knew he didn't have money and I was like, hey, I really let's go do something. It's okay for me to pay for it this time. Then we came to an agreement to do that. So I like the old school way in some ways, just because, there's something about a guy having the ability to, plan a date. You learn a lot about someone that way. And so I loved that part. But at the same time, it is somewhat impractical to think that the guy's going to always have money to do all the things. So I wouldn't have a problem if the guy wasn't able to pay all the time. So, but in general, I'm pretty old school in that if he wants to date me, then he can make a way.
He can make a way.
And
right.
it definitely started that way.
Yeah.
Intention.
Yes, it was the intention.
The intention behind it. Because you can do some cheap dates but you got to get creative. You got to put a little thought into it.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is the part that I like. So
That's the part.
I was totally fine with that.
Yeah.
We dated in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and there are tons of lakes all around there. We started dating in early September, so there was tons of things to go and do all the time that didn't cost anything. We would go, walk around a lake, go and on hikes and go to different parks and go different places that didn't cost anything. So
Yeah.
you're right.
I mean, I'm kind of like Amy. I'm old school too, but I think the first date, they need to pay, and that kind of sets, I don't know, kind of sets the beginning of it. Like Seth and I, we take turns actually. You know, like, oh, well, you covered this one. Oh, I'll cover this one. But the very first one he covered, and to me, I'm kind of like more of an independent person. So I'm thinking, you know, do I want somebody to pay for me? But at the same time, like, I have to take a step down and be like, okay, no, like in a marriage, I need to be like respectful of my husband and what he wants to do, things like that. But you know, so I feel like that's just a beginning for me. Like, okay, I need to take a step back and be like, he wants to pay, so I'm not going to overstep him. If that's what he wants to do, I'll let him do it. So, and then it kind of goes from there. So, but yeah.
I kind of feel like if you're, the reason for that is important. Like, am I not paying because I just have no initiative and I'm not really taking it seriously? I'm not trying to put my best foot forward. Or am I? And I do think that culturally, the expectation is that the guy would pay if he's asking, or if the girl asks, then she would kind of pay, or it should be a point of communication. I think, to me, really the bigger issue is, are you putting your effort in? Are you putting your best foot forward? Or are you just casual and nonchalant? And again, that goes back to kind of what you said. What's the intention? To me, whether they do or don't pay is not really the point. It's, are you trying to put your best foot forward? Are you looking at this other person and going, yeah, this is somebody I'm interested in getting to know better, so I'm going to put my best foot forward. That's really the bigger issue for me. Is there effort, or is it like, sure? I'm like, then, okay.
And I think too, like you said, Amy, if you guys have an understanding of where it is financially, I mean, maybe this guy's got a really good job, and it's no big deal for him to pay, or then that's more okay. But if you're dating somebody who you know's at an intern level or in college and money, you're probably not expecting as much, I would assume.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, we were in college, so
yeah,
just depended who got paid that week and who didn't, and there were a lot of factors.
Yeah.
So.
Let's jump to the next one. Should Christians date with marriage as the only goal, or is that an unhealthy pressure? So, Emily, you talked about intention. Like, when you're dating is different. You're looking for that life partner.
I think our generation, I mean, I know I'm a little bit older than Grace, but I feel like our generation, the culture is a little bit different now. Maybe years ago, the intention was marriage only. And I know, like, that's kind of my intention, but I'm not going to go in so strict and be like, well, you know, you blew your nose at the table, scratch you off, you know, like different things. But I know, like, people now are just, well, I just wanted a free dinner. You know, again, to me, it all goes back with your heart posture and your intention. And there still are some people in our generation, I feel like, that are looking for the marriage, and one of them was me, but I'm not so, I don't know what the word would be. I don't want to be like persnickety. You know, I feel like grace comes into it a little bit. Like, you give grace to that person if they mess up or something. You know, you just don't write them off right off the bat. But with that being said,
but if you're attracted to somebody, and are you going to overlook some red flags to go on a date with them, knowing that I'm probably not going to marry this person?
That depends on the.
What do you think, Grace?
I have maybe not a lot of opinions. I have an opinion on the way that, like, dating for marriage has, like, kind of panned out. I went to a Christian university, so for the most part, everybody there was Christian, and everybody at least said up front that they weren't, like, messing around. They were only wanting to, like, date for marriage. And in my opinion, the, like, culture that it creates, especially when it's like on a college campus or like in a bigger church or like wherever in like a more contained environment, can be very negative, because people get so like uptight about they have their list of things that they want or need in a partner, and if someone, from what they can tell, doesn't meet enough of them, then they won't go on a date. So there's some people who end up like, they might be asked on a few dates or whatever, but they never go on dates ever. They don't know what it looks like to date somebody. They don't know what it looks like to be in a relationship, because they're like holding on to their intention of getting married so strongly that they actually don't even know what they want beyond like a set of like qualities about a person. And it just puts a lot of pressure on you and on everybody that you meet to like, will you fit into the exact thing that I've made? And my personal problem with that is a lot of times the list that you make is a list that starts being created when you're pretty young, when you first start liking people, and like, oh, I would like to go on a date, that would be fun. And half of those things are like not even things like that, you know, if you need or not yet. Half the things that I was like, I want this on my list, would be somebody who would be attributes of a person who I would not like care about being with now. And so I think it's always a little bit dangerous whenever you have like your only intention is like, I will not date them unless I could see myself marrying them right now. First of all, because it's way too much pressure for everybody involved. You're going on a first date with someone you barely know, and you are like sitting there thinking like, I have to prove right now in the next 2 hours that like I'm someone you could marry. But you're also just like young and like trying to like exist. You're not even fully formed as a person, and that's way too much pressure for anybody to handle. You'll end up with nobody, because you don't know how to portray yourself as someone that you're like, what's my best self? I don't even know. And then you're like, who are you actually? And you're like, I don't know. I'm whoever you will make you want to marry me. And I think that can be very like disheartening, because then you can't be yourself. Because what if your best self, or what if who you are right now is not like exactly whoever you're on the date with wants to marry? And then you're like, well, it's tough. I think it can be a little bit dangerous.
So, follow-up question for everybody. What is the purpose of dating?
I was thinking the same thing.
Me?
Anyone.
Okay.
Anyone.
I would like to hear from everybody.
So
I can go. Okay. Well, I think the purpose of dating, the reason why I dated, was to get to know someone at a deeper level. Anybody that I ever went on a date with, which was not a lot of people, were people that I knew at least somewhat. I never went out with somebody that I didn't know at all. So it was just getting to know them at a deeper level. All of them were people that I was like, okay, just on the surface level, maybe this could be somebody that I could like. I probably didn't think through it to the extent that Grayce did, or the way she expressed it with the pressure of that. But I didn't go out on a date with anyone that I didn't think it was possible that I could marry them. Like, I didn't allow myself to go out with somebody that I was like, okay, I could never even consider marrying this person. But I didn't have to go through and check off everything off the checklist, because there wasn't a way to know, like, is this person, all of these things. But they were all in enough, everything that I knew about them was enough that I would consider going on a date with them. And then as I got to know the person, then eventually I would know whether it was somebody that I wasn't as attracted as I thought I was, or what we were planning to do in life was really different. I knew I was going into ministry, and one of the guys that I was dating wasn't going into ministry. And I was like, okay, well, this is an impasse then, because we are not going to be, going the same route. So, so I think it's just an opportunity to get to know someone at a deeper level. And then you know whether this is someone you want to continue with. I know some people are like, oh, I knew the moment, the first 15 minutes, this is the person I was going to marry. I know people that have said we were best friends. We dated for, 3 years, and they were like, oh, so it's not, I don't think there's a one size fits all, but I think when you start out, again, back to the intentions, am I going to let myself go out with someone that I know I absolutely should never be marrying? I don't think that's smart to go on a date with that person, because if by chance you are super attractive and there's other things that start to outweigh the things that maybe are more important, then that's a risk that you're taking.
Yeah. I think the purpose is, for me, I did not date I went on a date with 2 or 3 girls, but Holly was the only one I ever had dated and had a relationship with. Mm-hmm. And from day one, we just kind of meshed together. Like, we thought really closely on a lot of things, and it just was easy.
Yeah.
And so I don't have a lot of history there, but if I didn't see a future, I didn't pursue anybody. And I think that's why the others were just like one and done, is because I was like, I'm not interested, and went on. But with her, it just, like, before we even started dating, we were friends, and then it moved into a relationship, but it was just real easy for me. Mm-hmm. And I thank God for that. That's one of the things I did get right was her. So I'll take it. If I was going to get one right, I got one right.
Yeah, that's an important one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I think dating, the purpose of it, for me personally, is I look for a partnership. I'm looking for that person that I know is going to walk with me, not only through good times, dating, having fun, but through the hard times later on. Like, this person's going to stick with me, if I lose my job, or, if bills or something, or even like parents passing away. Those are things I'm not saying I do it on the first date, but, as I get to know the person more, then I start to kind of analyze, do they have the characteristics that I know could carry somebody through, and be a best friend, be a partner. So that's what I seek out, that partnership.
I would agree a lot with what my mom said. I think the purpose is getting to know someone better. Obviously, most people don't go on a date with someone they aren't, at least attracted to physically, personality-wise. And then if you're a Christian, obviously, there's an added layer of, do I think that they, love the Lord? Hopefully, anyways. And then one thing I do think is different now, that's something that people combat a lot, is that adds pressure, is that I've talked about this with my parents a few times about how everything with social media and the way that people post about their lives now, way more about at least someone's portrayed life mm-hmm. than anybody ever did before. And that puts a little bit more pressure on you when you're dating, because you aren't a very static, one-dimensional person who I know dresses like this and looks like this, and I hear talk in class sometimes and they seem cool, and so I'm going to go on a date with them. You have a very very developed image of someone based off of and this is probably not good, not saying that this is correct, but it's just the way that everything works now. The way that you post about the things that you do, who you're with, all of that plays into how you're perceived as a whole mm-hmm. person. And so you go in with a lot more information about someone than I feel you used to.
100%.
And so it can feel a little bit different. It kind of feels almost like you're a couple dates farther than anybody a couple years ago were when they went on a first date, because you already know a lot more, unless somehow you go on a date with someone who you were set up with, don't have really any mm-hmm. connection to prior, so you don't actually know anything about them. So in my case, I would say it's getting to know people, but it's like getting to know what they're actually like and not just like what they appear as, because you have all of this information and you have to then like sift through what is actually the like day-to-day person who will be like in front of you, instead of like everything that they post that they are, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
It does.
absolutely. I think what role, you guys have all answered kind of on a serious side. What role, if any, should having fun play in dating? Like when Amy and I went out, I thought she was gorgeous and we had fun together. Like, and at times when we think too seriously, so was I dumb? Was I wrong? What role? How do we navigate that dynamic?
I can go at this one. This is like goes into a lot of what I was talking about when I was saying like dating to marry and like that whole mindset can be so much pressure because everything is so serious. You have to like figure out like you're like on your third date and you're like, what is your childhood trauma? Because I know you're bringing that in. There's like too much awareness. Maybe not, that's not like a real world scenario, but there's just like too much awareness of like what you're bringing into something because you're trying to figure out if you're going to marry them, and you're just like, it can be way heavier. And I am like, why would you date someone if it isn't fun? And a lot of people are not having as much fun as they could be having because they're so worried about making sure that they're not wasting their time. And that is not the opinion that I hold. One thing my mom used to say to me all the time that was so annoying. I was like, thank you. Basically, anytime I ever had a conflict with anybody or any sort of situation ever, didn't matter if they were a friend or a sibling or like somebody I was interested in, didn't matter. Every time she was like, you're just learning like how to live with a spouse one day. You're just learning like what you might want in a partner. And I was like, thanks. I'm not trying to learn that much. Thank you. But there is essentially though into that there's like no time wasted if you're figuring out like who you are and what you want, even if you don't end up with whoever you were dating, which is also why not have fun if you're like, whatever you're doing, you're learning something, even if it's just that you like to go on this type of dates. Still, you don't stop dating somebody when you marry them, so you should at least know how to have some fun dates, even if you end up marrying somebody else. So
I think it matters if you care about having fun. If you're a serious person who doesn't care about having fun from then on, then I guess it doesn't matter. But if you can have fun with a person, like that was important to me. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to date this person just to have fun. Although
I was fun. Woo! I was fun.
But mostly like that was part of it. I mean, Chris and I were kind of like Gary and Holly in that once we went on one date, like it just never stopped. We were just together then.
Yeah.
And so it was just easy. And it was a lot of just goofiness. We had a lot of serious talks mixed in the middle of all of those, but a lot of it was just going and having fun like you would if you're in college with a group of friends. Because we did hang out with a lot of people too. It wasn't just the two of us a lot of the time. So I think it matters if you have fun, if you are going to ever want to have fun. If you don't ever have fun together, how are you going to, yeah, I think that is something that you start when you're dating.
Well, I think that a lot of people have the perspective of a Hallmark movie romance. You got to figure it out so quickly, things like that. And yeah, in the movies, they have a little bit of fun, but it's like kind of romantic fun, if that makes sense. To me, I feel like you have a romantic fun and then you have like fun being stupid kind of thing. And I mean, if anybody knows me, like I'm super sarcastic. So if they can't handle my sarcasm, like, I don't know what to tell you. You just you have to relax. Kind of like she said, it's so much pressure if you don't relax a little bit to enjoy your dates. I mean, you're only going to get this time in your life mostly once. Like, enjoy the season that you're in. I mean, of course, with wisdom, but enjoy the season that you're in. Gary, any thoughts?
I had a lot of fun with Holly dating her, but it was all just natural. Like, no, I didn't try. It just happened. It was, I don't know. I experienced a lot of firsts with her too, that I hadn't. I mean, I don't know. There was just a lot of different things that I got to share with her for the first time on dates or going to a baseball game. I think she was the first person I went to a baseball game with that wasn't my parents, and that was a whole different experience. Just driving myself and her to St. Louis to watch the Cardinals play. So there's all kinds of stuff like that just happened naturally, and she would get in the truck with me and we'd go take off and drive in the river bottoms and look at ducks and geese or deer and whatever, and it was easy and natural. So, but yeah, you have to have some fun. If you're not, you're probably doing it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what do you think about going on the next question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. How much should spiritual maturity matter compared to chemistry and attraction? Does anybody want to lead off on this? I feel like this is a deeper question. How much should spiritual maturity matter compared to chemistry and attraction?
I can speak to it.
Go for it.
You have to be attracted to the person. And that can grow, by the way. I've had this discussion many times with my children. So that can grow. I'm not saying that you can't. Like, there are times that people are friends. Gary talked about he knew Holly. They were good friends. And then they eventually started dating. So it can be something that, I never really thought about dating you, but now, okay, yeah, maybe I could date you. It can change. But in general, you have to be attracted to the person. There has to be some sort of chemistry. And I don't know that can be fabricated in a sense that if it's not there when you're dating, I don't know that it will ever be there, but it is something that's important. And so I don't think it's one or the other. It's both and in this case, because spiritual maturity matters. But it also is something that's learned and that grows. I think that the thing that's important to me is that there's something there, like there's relationship. There's desire to have a walk in a relationship with the Lord, and then also a desire to grow and to change and to keep walking forward and keep moving closer to the Lord. So that's what matters. I don't think it has to be, the Bible's pretty clear about the husband being the leader in the home, in the leading them spiritually. And yet I don't think that that's also a no-go. Like, hey, this guy isn't as far along as I am in my walk with the Lord. Can I not date him? No, not necessarily. But where is he? What is he trying to do? Where is he looking to mature? Is he looking to go further with the Lord? Or is it, sometimes it's just the way it worked out. He found the Lord at a different spot in his life than I did. So, I mean, we can't say they have to be more spiritually mature than the other person or whatever, but it does matter. Can they have, those kind of discussions? You can find out very quickly if there's a desire to learn and grow. What you can't always find out is it sincere and is it for the right reason? And those are the kind of things that takes a little bit of time and observance. I saw Chris in chapel many times before we ever were in a dating situation, passionately worshiping. That was very attractive to me. I saw him loving Jesus and chasing after him, having no clue I was ever even watching him. I listened to him talk about stuff in class. Like, there was no doubt to where he was in his walk with the Lord. And yet he was passionately pursuing the Lord at a much later age than I was. So was he truly more mature than me? I have no idea. But what I needed to know was there.
Yeah, my attractiveness to Holly worked backwards kind of from that. So I was so attracted to her that I waited around for her. Like, I hung out because she was dating somebody else.
Okay.
So we had class together and became friends in class. And then she found out that I went to church and she asked if she could go with me. So I took her to church with me, and we weren't dating at the time, but that's kind of, I stuck around because I could see in her, like, first of all, I was attracted to her. Secondly, she had a lot of qualities that I, liked, but I'm glad, to your point, I'm glad she was patient with me, and because she was way further along in her spiritual walk than I was. If you asked me then, do you believe in Jesus? And I would have said yes. But that was about it. I wasn't pursuing a relationship with God. I wasn't living a Christian lifestyle or anything like that. So she was patient with me. I'm not saying you should take on a project, but she had some grace, as you mentioned earlier, to allow me to develop and become the household, the leader of the household and things like that. But I think you do have to have a little bit of grace with somebody if there's a lot of things going the right way and that person's trying and you can see efforts to develop spiritually, cut them some slack, because they may turn into the person you're hoping that they turn into.
Yeah.
100%. Do you think there's more pressure on men to have it spiritually together when starting a relationship? Because does that make sense? Like you said, Holly was farther along. Did that make you feel pressured to have it more together?
No, it was
Okay.
encouraging.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I never felt pressured from her really to catch up or like move further along. But I found it encouraging to, like, I saw how she worshiped and because I came from a completely different, Methodist church with the robes and the hymns. And then when I started dating her, like, I come up here and there's lights and electric guitars, and it was people are actually active in worship. And so it was an eye-opening experience. I talked a little bit about that in my testimony, but it encouraged me. Being around her, being around the people of this church encouraged me to pursue God. I didn't feel any pressure to do it. I felt encouragement. So I think there's a difference there.
That's awesome.
I'll just add, like, really quickly that I think a lot of it comes down to your own discernment. Because I've had times that there were people who were like spiritually mature in a way that I liked and I thought was like a pretty good match to me, but I wasn't really super attracted to them. And so I don't really know that I ever would have dated them. And I've had the reverse, where somebody I was attracted to, but they were not as spiritually mature as me. And in both situations, I had to just be like, am I being vain? Do I need to am I caring about things that don't matter? And then I was like, am I not allowing someone the opportunity to like grow into a new spot? And in both situations, the answer was like, I'm not going to date them. But it looked different on both sides, and it all just came down to what I was discerning from the Lord about whether that was something I should pursue or not, because I did have questions. So sometimes you just have to be like, what am I supposed to do? Ask people who you trust. In general, also, if you like feel like you don't really know if you want to date them, you probably should just not date them, I would say.
Yeah.
Probably.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying that's probably true.
I would say just guessing here, there's way more women sitting in churches that are married to men they thought they could change and get to come to church, and the guys have never engaged. Then there are men sitting in church thinking they could get a woman to come to church.
Right.
That's just, I think that's a safe guess.
I would say.
I would say it's a really safe guess.
Very safe guess.
Yeah. I feel like our church actually has a lot of men in it compared to maybe some other churches, because I've noticed that, because we traveled to a lot of churches as missionaries. So we went from church to church. So we've been exposed to a lot of churches. And I feel like we have a really strong presence of men in our church. So that's a wonderful blessing. But you're right. It's not as common for... I had always said when we were youth pastoring, and I still say it today to my kids, missionary dating is not a good idea, because you can put your best foot forward. When Chris said, well, I want to know, are you putting your best foot forward? I wanted to be like, no, I don't want you to put your best foot forward. I want to see who you really are. We can try to be somebody that we're not. And that's why, long-term relationships are not necessarily great because for, certain reasons, but then also you have to be around long enough that the person just relaxes and becomes who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is sometimes like, oh, this girl's like a little Christian girl. I have to try to be this person. And some people can fake it and some people can't anyways. You can hopefully have the discernment like Grayce was talking about and just figure that out for yourself. But sometimes that's why I'm saying it's a little bit dangerous if you decide to, well, let me just go on a couple of dates. It's not really that big of a deal. If you already have a little bit of a red flag, then probably not pursuing it if you're already attracted to them, because at some point you start to compromise because you really like the person, because you just want to be with them. Or you start to think, well, what if someone else doesn't come around and maybe this person's going to for sure change their minds and go deeper. There's just a lot of questions. It's not something that I have always said you need to have negotiables and non-negotiables. And, if he's tall, dark, and handsome, that can be negotiable, because what does that even mean? I always wanted a super tall person. Chris wasn't super tall, but he was tall enough.
Yeah.
So you adjust certain things and then, but you can't, that's a non-negotiable to me, the walk with the Lord, because
Absolutely.
You can't make that one be okay.
I do think you run the risk of being drugged the other way easier than dragging somebody over to your side. I mean,
Generally speaking, Holly made out.
Yeah,
she did. She won. She won on that one because there was a pretty big risk that you wouldn't have been interested to keep going. And part of it probably was that she encouraged you quietly and didn't push you, because pushing you wouldn't have really helped. But
probably not.
But that is, the people that I sit with time after time after time that thought it was going to be different there's no comparison compared to someone like you. It's just, there's not as many of those around.
Yeah.
So, and it does go both ways. There are guys who are dating a girl who isn't necessarily at the exact same spot too, but I think it is a little bit more common. There's a lot of girls sitting around in churches that are dying for the right guy to walk in. It doesn't always happen.
So you mentioned red flags. What are some red flags? So we know one is if they don't believe in Jesus.
Right.
Red flag. Any others?
There's like a lot of just like general ones, like are they not kind to people? That one is personally something that I think is very easy to figure out if someone is kind or not. Not just are they like in general nice, but are they like actually kind to the people around them? How you interact with your parents is really important to me. So if they do,
why is that important to you?
Why?
Yeah.
That I feel like it's just a long story. I just think the family that you like come from teaches you and has a very like profound impact on who you are. So when you're coming from parents that you are not kind to or respectful to or like or have any relationship with, it's a red flag for me. I will specify that I'm not someone who like sees red flags and is necessarily going to immediately be like, you have no shot now. But it's just something that if I'm going to actually date you, then I will ask about before I like decide anything. Other things, I don't know.
Those are great. I definitely agree with the parent thing. For me, in this, I don't know, I don't want it to sound judgmental, but I feel like I see a little bit of a difference. Like if that person, if their parents are divorced, you can kind of see how that falls into play in their lives. And that's not their fault, but you can see, I don't know how to explain it. You can just kind of feel it, whether they've taken it and ran with it and made themselves a better person and learned from it what to not do, or you know what I mean, or if they've just kind of succumbed to it and that's how life is. Well, if we get divorced, we get divorced. If it doesn't work out, it didn't work out. If we don't agree, well, then I guess we're just not going to make it. It's how they perceive the situation from before. And I don't know, maybe that goes back to what you had mentioned, maybe childhood trauma. I don't know. But like from my point of view, so Seth is adopted, and even though like he doesn't have the genetic makeup of both of his parents, to have Christian parents, and I know not everybody has Christian parents, and you have to focus on your person, but they poured into him and they taught him how to respect, respect your elders, and how to love the Lord and walk. And yes, it is ultimately their decision what they decide to do, but I've always heard this saying, people are going to go back to your roots. They're going to know. Like, that never leaves them. So I think that the whole parent reflects a lot later on in life, because in all honesty, I mean, I look at my parents and I look at my grandparents, and that's how I learn and figure out how I'm going to treat the person that I'm going to be with. And I see how Seth treats me the way that his mom and dad treat each other. So it's just to me, it's a big influence. And so that's just something I personally focus on a lot.
Yeah.
Pajama pants, is that a red flag?
Depends where they're wearing them. Another big red flag for me, which has not been the same for like everyone I've ever talked to, huge deal to me, is whether someone is a sore loser or not. Yeah, I can think someone is like the most beautiful person I've ever seen, and then if I play a game or a sport with them and they lose really badly, I immediately do not think they're attractive anymore. And it's just because I just like don't like that. I can't do it. I can't handle it. I immediately actually just don't want to talk to them anymore.
Yeah.
That is a very big red flag for me.
Oh, Benjamin David.
No, because actually, Ben, I will say, let me defend him now. He might not even listen to this. He is a very sore loser, but only to himself.
Yes, true that. He's not mean to
if
anybody
people
else.
are annoyed when they lose because for some reason they feel that if they played well enough, they could have won and carry the entire team on their back, even though you're like, that's crazy, you're actually insane. But then they can like kind of get over it and it's fine, but they were only mad at themselves. That's like something I can be like,
he's not mean to the rest
maybe
of the
it's
team.
not that deep. Like, you don't really need to beat yourself up for the next like 30 minutes that you just lost this game. It's going to be fine. But if someone is like a sore loser to other people on their team and they're like just mad in general, and that's what I really can't handle.
There's the kindness thing. It's coming back to you.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not kind.
I think we got time for at least one more. The sex question. Are Christian sexual boundaries clear or confusing?
Their boundaries are confusing if you don't set a boundary. A boundary is not an automatic. A boundary is something that you sit down together and early on in a dating relationship, I might add, and you literally physically talk about that, because if the boundaries are not set out, then they will be squashed. They will be run over, because one will be assuming one thing, the other person's assuming another thing, coming from different backgrounds, having different standards. We can't assume anything. And so boundaries are, yes, I absolutely think they're different for Christians than probably other people, but we don't know what that would be necessarily if you don't set
You
that
have to have
out.
the talk,
so
right?
you have to have an
Well,
intentional talk very early on.
I will add this into like what you're saying. I agree with everything you're saying. Also, I will say they're extra confusing if you are just like, look up in the Bible any verse, like what are you there? The Bible is not as specific as you need to be.
Yes.
And it clearly says you shouldn't have sex. So, okay, great. Before marriage, we got that one. That one's easy to know.
Yeah.
Almost everybody, Christian or not, has the idea that they, maybe shouldn't have sex before marriage. Now, for some people, it's a little bit different. If you're like dating someone for long enough, well, that's your long-term partner now, whatever. But for Christians, that is something from the time you're very small. Like you're not supposed to have sex before marriage. But anything outside of that is not specified, and I think that adds a lot of confusion for people, because if you don't specify and early on, then it's hard to know where to draw the line whenever, if what you're looking to for most things is the Bible and the Bible isn't telling you explicitly and what you need is to be told explicitly, then you're like, what am I doing right now?
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like, tough when you're young and you're attracted to somebody, you're going to want to push that envelope as far as you can.
Yeah, yes,
So
you are.
it didn't say I couldn't do this. It didn't say I couldn't do that. You know, you get into that. So yeah, I think Holly and I talked very early on, like, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
And there are boundaries, and but I understand not everybody's going to do that. But if you don't do it early on, you're not going to probably have the power to do it later.
Yep. It needs to happen early. And it needs to you need to remind yourselves every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially as you get closer to marriage.
Yep. I mean, so for me, I'm a huge supporter of be mindful of who you surround yourself with. And this is where I find it very important that you have Christian friends, because when you find yourself in a situation such as that, like you're getting closer to marriage, you know, maybe temptation's growing or something, your friends, your Christian friends, can be good people to hold you accountable for those scenarios, you know, to check in, make sure you're doing okay. Like my Bible study friends, a lot of us, that's what, you know, we do. If that we hold each other accountable, and that would be just like to me, that would just be a great thing to do, especially, you know, getting closer, or, you know, if you're in a long-term relationship, things like that. So,
yeah. We had rules like at our house. I lived with a few girls, and we had like set up rules where, listen, at our house, none of us are allowed to be at home by ourselves with a guy. Like, didn't have to be your boyfriend, but like, we're just not doing that, because then there's there never has to be a temptation, because it's just like a house rule. So we took that out of the scenario for everybody so that it wasn't an issue. And there were issues sometimes because it was inconvenient. And then Chris had the same rule at his apartment. So that helped. So there were different things that, you know, we tried to do to help ourselves. So I think that also helps you if you just make some wise choices before you're in a situation where you're, you know, worrying about compromising some of the boundaries that you already have set. But yeah.
Don't put yourself in a position to fail.
Yeah.
I will also
Yes.
add, I am not a parent yet, but I do work with kids, and I did study psychology in college. And I think it's been like for a long time, proven pretty well that not talking about things doesn't make it not a thing. When I think was a
Yes.
little bit the stance of the church for a little while was we don't want to give anybody any ideas. But that's like doesn't work ever, never has. And talking to your kids about stuff clearly in an age appropriate manner from the time that they like can comprehend why you're talking about it is really important, because there's a time in your life when you're learning all of the rules of your life, and then when you're older, you don't have to think about why you do them. You know that that's a rule you have. Like, you know, you're taught in kindergarten that you have to raise your hand. You can't just talk in class, and they start the second you hit school, so that when you're a senior and the rest of school, all of these years, you already know this rule. You don't think about it. You just know, if I have something to say, I need to raise my hand. And if you don't do it, and someone's like, what are you doing? You immediately know, like, oh, I knew that was a rule and I didn't do it. It goes for the same thing for rules of any kind. They're way easier to implement when you're small, way harder to implement when you're old. That's why even things like learning to change your diet and learning to add in new habits are way harder when you're old, because your brain just doesn't learn as fast. And so it's way better to try and teach your kids all of these things when they're little. And I know that can be uncomfortable and scary, because for some kids, you're like, I don't know. I don't want to introduce something before they like know anything, like, but I can tell from my life experience, from the world the way that it is now, I had people in 2nd or 3rd grade, maybe even younger, who knew and would talk about what sex was. Did they know intellectually, conceptually? No, but it's talked about way earlier than you ever would want to imagine. If you don't teach them, then the world will, except for the world is saying that it's all fine.
Yeah.
And so when they get to a point, they have to navigate it, except for now they don't have any rules, and nothing about how to navigate it is innate inside of them. it's way harder. And so making it innate and navigating uncomfortable conversations with like discernment from the Lord is going to set your kid up for like a way easier teen and young adulthood. And I always say to like my friends and my parents, I always say like you'll never regret having nothing to regret. And if you are a parent and you're like, this conversation is going to be uncomfortable and they might not take it well right now, that's why you keep having conversations and you keep teaching and you keep learning from each other in the church and the Lord about how to communicate it well. Because when they're 14, 15, 16, going off to college and you feel like I've given them enough that like I don't have anything to regret about the way that I like set them up, you don't have to regret anything, and hopefully they won't have anything to regret either.
Yeah. You're wise beyond your years, Grace. That's
are.
good.
Thank you.
That's really good advice. Well, let's end with advice. You might not be able to do this because you two are still young, but what advice would you give to your younger self about dating?
You want to start with
Yeah,
me?
go ahead.
I feel like I've been doing this already because I have people that I'm talking to all the time. I think what Grace said, just having talked to people recently, I do think that there's a certain pressure that's happening. Okay, maybe not everywhere, but the pressure of the people that I'm talking to, a lot of young people, that they are feeling like they have to make a decision from the moment they see the person if they're marrying them. And I think it is a pressure that we, I'll take responsibility in my own house with my own kids. We've emphasized the importance of that decision as being the second most important decision you'll ever make behind making a decision for the Lord. So it is an important decision. And yet it isn't, you don't have to make the decision immediately. So is the person that you're considering going out with on a date somebody that you should consider going on a date with? Absolutely. If you know there's somebody that it could be, there's not huge red flags that you know about that you're ignoring, then go out and just have fun and try to be chill from the beginning. Because I think it seems like there is this serious, like, I don't know if it's anxiety or what it is that people are facing, but it's like scary to just go on a date. And I think that maybe we've swung the pressure so far the other direction because people just wanted to date around all the time. So like, no, we don't just date anybody, anytime, for any reason. We just want to date someone to find a life partner. But then at the same time, now we've swung the other direction to where it's like so terrifying to go on a date that no one will ever go on a date because we don't know if that person is going to ever possibly meet all the standards that we've set out for ourselves. So I think you can... if I was going to say to myself, I would do very similar to what Chris and I did. We were friends first. We were casual friends. We didn't know each other super well, but we were in class together. We knew each other a little bit. And then we were able to go on dates very casually and just start a relationship that turned into something very naturally and organically. And as we found out more about each other, we liked that. And then we moved on. And then there were certain things I'm like, I don't know about that, but it's okay because the Lord's helping, that person change. So I didn't have an idea for perfection. And yet at the same time, there were certain standards that I wanted to meet. And the Lord showed me pretty early on that was the person. So I don't know if that makes sense, but for me, I think that I want it to be in the middle. I don't want someone to be like so crazy. They just want to go on dates with all these people. And at some point, maybe one of these people could be the right person. And yet I also don't want them to be so narrow in their focus that they can't possibly find someone that either would fit the standard or that they'd be willing to take a risk with. Because there is a little bit of risk involved. Like, is this going to be the person? I don't know. You just have to take a risk and find out. Just take the leap and then see how it goes. It's not the end of the world if you go on a date. So that's what I would say.
Any advice?
Okay. I mean, I know I'm like younger, but thinking back to dating for a while, do not settle. Do not settle. And it kind of, it can be really easy to get in that trap. How Amy had said, you can be with this person for a long term. It's like, well, I just kind of overlook red flags, but it'll be fine, but it's going to be harder as time goes on if you realize that's not the person that the Lord has for you, that there's something else that he has destined for you that's better. So don't sell yourself short and don't settle. Yeah.
Grace,
I mean,
you got a 16-year-old girl here. You got to give her some advice.
I would say just relax. Specifically for young girls, like, your worth is not found in your ability to get a date and have a boy like you, and that needs to be held very, like, deeply in your heart for your whole life, because you will have problems, because it's never going to work out for you. Just stay calm, be who you are. A phrase I heard recently is, don't be afraid to be too much for someone whose cup is, like, not able to hold you. The idea is essentially, like, some people make themselves smaller or try to be something that they're not because they don't want to ever be too much for someone. I think that's something that girls struggle with a lot. And it's just the idea that you'll never be too much to someone who is, like, made to handle, like, their cup is made to hold the amount of you that you are. And so just be who you are, relax, and trust that, like, when it is your time, it will work out.
For me, trust. I think trust is huge. I can trust Holly 1,000%. She's proven that time and time again. And so trust is, I think, something that you want to be able to trust whoever you're with. And then I'm going to quote Phil Robertson here. You need 3 things in a woman.
Yes.
Number 1, she carries a Bible. Number 2, she cooks 6 meals and you eat them. And number 3 is she'll pick your ducks. And I think there's literal there, and then there's metaphorical there. Literally, make sure you're pursuing a woman who trusts, or, is chasing God and believes in God. Number 2, the cooking. You have to come to this marriage with some kind of skill. You have to have a skill set. You can't come in here expecting the other person to be a butler and take care of all your needs. Like, if you're a guy, you have to have a skill set. If you're a woman, you have to have a skill set. And then number 3, the picking of the ducks. I think that's just service. Be willing to serve the other person. It'll make your marriage a lot better. So
So true.
That's my advice.
And you can't live on love, according to Phil.
Yeah. Phil, you're starved to death.
Starved to death.
Yeah. So,
I tell my kids that all the time.
yeah.
You can't live on love.
Tim, do you want to add anything?
Pick somebody homeless.
I do. Grace kind of touched on it. It kind of surprised me. She said something a lot of girls deal with, but I dated terribly in high school because I defined myself by, why does nobody want me? I was that kind of kid. And I struggled with that, honestly, into adulthood. Luckily, I found a girl pretty early who's dealt with me in the meantime. So I got married when I was 19. So, but yeah, you got to define yourself in the Lord and how you got to know who you are before you get really serious about finding the person. And I did not do that. And that's kind of I would call it a warning, but it's really something you need to think on, especially if you're younger and dating.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
advice.
that's good, because if you know, that can move into a whole other subject of relationships, because if you're looking for your partner to provide something that person can't provide for you, then it's always disappointing. And then that always leads to issues, because, like Grace said, if you're looking for someone to pick you and for you to be someone likes you, now I'm lovable. Now I am who I'm supposed to be. But no, you're still looking for someone to define you, and it's Jesus that can do that. So when you look for who even becomes your husband, you're still looking for the wrong thing. It still is disappointing, because now they're trying to give you something that you can't give. So it matters that you know who you are first.
Yep. Well, I think we're out of time. Grace, thank you so much for coming. I am 100% sure your mom and dad are extremely proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you guys for watching, and we will be back next week with another episode, so we'll see you then.
This has been The Cast, a production of Bedford First Assembly of God in Bedford, Indiana. Your hosts were Emily Taylor and Gary West, produced by Shannon Hiles and Tia Hiles, and engineered by Tim Ray. Be sure to watch for new episodes of The Cast every Monday.